Hey, folks, welcome back. Are you stressing out about the holidays, worried about your apps failing, and worried about how to scale them, and weird bugs showing up during this period, or losing business because your app went down? How do people take care of these kinds of problems and still have a stress-free holiday? Well, we're going to be going over some of that today with you and talking about the different things and strategies that people use, including ourselves. In addition to that, we're going to set you up because the holidays are coming up. There's Christmas in between, there's New Year's, and some other various holidays. We're going to give you a list for those of you who have the time and want to spend it. We're going to give you a list of our 5 must-watch episodes for 2024. You stay on through the end, you'll get that list, and you'll have a nice playlist that you can refer to for that time in between while you're eating your Christmas dinner or your holiday dinner. And with that, my name is Alim Gafar. This is the 67th episode of This Week in MeteorJS, a weekly newscast of the MeteorJS Dispatches podcast. I've already introduced myself. I'm Alim Gafar, broadcasting live from New York City.
Hello, everybody. I am Dvorak, aka Storyteller, Storyteller CC, coming to you live from Sendai in Japan.
And this is Küster coming to you live from Germany.
And with that, as we always do, we'll start with the news. Now, I want you guys to mark your calendars because coming up in I'm trying to remember what the date is going to be. I think it says it's January 12th.
Yep.
Is that a Sunday? Is that what it is? Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
On Sunday, January 12th, there will be a workshop for getting started with MeteorJS. It's going to be a hands-on workshop brought to you directly by the CEO of Meteor Software himself, Fred Mariantis. Fred. Let's just leave it at Fred right now. My mouth is not working today. And he is going to be going over how do you create real-time apps with MeteorJS. And he's going to be doing this with Meteor and React. So he's really good with this. He's done this many, many times before. He's built many, many applications, and he's a really good teacher. So you should mark your calendars. It's going to be at the Meteor Lounge, which is the Meteor Discord, Meteor Software Discord server. We'll have a link for you, and we'll provide that in the show descriptions below. Okay? And in addition to that, I want to just switch gears for a minute. We had a discussion last week on a piece that this fellow by the name of Rick Hodges at InfoWorld wrote in his blog. And he wrote a piece called The Worst Programmer I Know. You can check out the episode last week where we talk about it. He has another piece entitled Just Say No to JavaScript. And, it's a very, very salty take. We hear this from people from time to time that, the flaw with JavaScript was that it was created in like a week or something like this. And they're still fixated on that, even though there's been an entire team and working group that works on this, not just one person, right? It's a lot of very interested parties, very professional people in computer science that have been working on it for years. So he says, this is an opinion piece, and he says, JavaScript gives you too many ways to shoot yourself in the foot, just what you'd expect from a programming language that was created in a week. And I'll be honest with you, there are plenty of languages. I could mention Perl, for instance, that gives you the opportunity to shoot yourself in the foot because it's a very expressive language. It allows for a lot of different ways to do the same thing. So I'm not crazy about this take, but you might want to read this if you're looking to get your adrenaline up. It's a personal rant. As I've said before, the JS haters just don't seem to die off, do they? I mean, have you guys had a chance to look at this article yet? What's your take?
I just kind of want to first give a take on, the haters just don't seem to die off. That's something that we've suffered through Meteor and in other technologies as well, and other things. So I've kind of went through the motions quite a few times already.
Yeah.
That takes like these just especially like in technology where different tools for different jobs, it no longer phases me.
Yeah. And if I can just go back to that first item for a minute there. Oh, I'm sorry. Küster, you were going to add yourself and say something. Yeah.
So I think, so this is a very personal take as well. So the other one is also a personal take.
Yeah.
I could argue the same thing for Python. And there would be a horde of developers running into my door and trying to put my house into flames,
Yeah.
But so this whole thing of it's very it's weak typed and you could do bad stuff. Yeah, yes it is, and Python is so too. And of course, there are different ways in Python, but this is why TypeScript exists for JavaScript. It's the same as Pydantic, and these things exist for Python. And you can do bad stuff, but also let's turn it around and look at beginners. Yes, you can easily start your programming journey without having to sit hours to find this one little error your compiler prevents you from running anything.
Right.
And so it's always a so and so. It's not a definitive thing. What I thought interesting is this whole concept of Node.js. I don't know if you heard about that before. There are some frameworks also like HTMX and stuff that are building on top of this concept of Node.js. This is preventing JavaScript at all. Don't deliver anything JavaScript to the client. That's okay if you're building a blog. That's okay if you want to build an e-commerce or something like this. But again, I don't know what the others saying. In MeteorJS, we're building usually complex web apps. And without JavaScript, there is no complex web app. It's just what it is. So, yeah.
It's a different paradigm, right? That's a thing. That you're not going to get the same kind of typing that you're going to get with C# or with another strongly typed language, right? It's it's certainly somebody could be a purist and say all the other languages are terrible because you have all these side effects and you should be using Haskell instead. Because Haskell is going to prevent all of these, horrible side effects that, might give you some unknown errors. And if we could just, isolate all of these things, it'd be better. So I don't buy this argument. I think it's, and I think the idea that, it was created in a week, but it hasn't evolved from it hasn't stayed static to that, right? There has been a huge amount of work that's gone to making it a better programming language. So,
and that's also part of the central argument, or pretty much the big argument of that piece is to use TypeScript, which for me I've kind of like the same, except you just add libs, and a lot of that article is about types this, types that.
Yes.
But interestingly, I kind of like the end. Where he says, ultimately, JavaScript was the right thing at the right time. It ended up being folded, spindled, and mutilated to serve purposes that isn't well suited for, which, discussable. That's why TypeScript came along.
But here's one thing I have to object. Sorry for that. But this is also why I still haven't fully adopted TypeScript, because TypeScript brings something into JavaScript that, in my opinion, doesn't belong there, and that is this whole trying to mimic this full object-oriented approach of things, which I know from language like Java or something, which I don't want to have, because on the web they don't make sense in most cases, in my opinion. We're working in very procedural routines and not in this everything is OOP here, and sorry for interrupting you, but that's what I, for example, dislike on TypeScript.
I kind of want to end, because this is, also like another thing to kind of consider. and because as everything, we had a lot of languages come and gone through the years. So maybe in the future they'll be better. But at the same time, I think we are, you could say, kind of past the explosion of new things, and things might have potentially settled for a while. But as things evolve and develop, there might be better tools that, or better programming languages specifically, that come along. But what do we know? We are the old Meteor guys who have not moved on to the greater, newer pastures of Next.js.
There's always a reinvention, right? There's always somebody coming up with there are always new languages. As a matter of fact, Donald Knuth, one of the those old graybeard computer scientists, who has done a huge amount of work, was doing one of his volumes. He published some encyclopedias on computing, and his last volume was on computing languages. And I have gone back in like 10, 15 years ago, where he was still working on it, because like all these little languages, as he called them, were still coming out, and he was trying to get them all in, but they were still being created. And I don't know if he ever finished, like said, okay, I'm going to finish this volume, and I'm going to have, here's my, the list of programming languages that are in the world, because it seems every year there are new languages that show up, and some of them derive off of JavaScript, right? I think Dart, for instance, was very similar, in a lot of ways to JavaScript. So I don't know the Dart language. I could be completely wrong. So that's just, my cursory thought, remembering or trying to remember what I do about Dart. But there is that. So whatever you will. But I think, by the way, like now you can actually use Python in the browser, right? I think that's a recent development. And I've not tried it myself.
You can pretty much at this point use anything theoretically in the browser that's developing. I'm just I'm blanking on the name
through WebAssembly.
Yes, WebAssembly, exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, so listen, I mean, if JavaScript's not your flavor, go do you, right? It's do what you want to do here. But
I think I want to kind of finish this on that. Sometimes I'm thinking, we have the web, we're kind of, I think, pretty much set in here. I'm kind of thinking also what it can evolve with, and I'm thinking, okay, what comes after the internet? What's going to be the next communication layer? And for that, I think what will be the programming languages for that, or have we kind of reached the main communication layer with the internet, and everything else will be in some shape or other pretty much built on top of it? Because to build the network, that's the thing. But if you like to daydream, make sure to like our video here as well, down there. And
give it
with
a like.
that, there's another and there's another thing that you should have liked Meteor in.
Yeah. So coming from JS, going over to JS. The state of JavaScript is results are already in. This is very fast. I think prior to that, it took much more time until the results are in. But interesting findings there. So first of all, the age group below 20 is just 3%. So I wonder, like, is everybody now a Rust developer? Everybody is, by the way, doing Rust, and JS is totally out with the kids, or are they all going on Gleam and Crystal and all these languages I read every week, but I never know what they're all about. So
I think this kind of speaks more into, I would say, maybe the bigger crisis that there is less, because especially like in the younger, ages, less hobbyists or people are getting interested in programming. And why would they? They can spend all the day scrolling on TikTok or Twitter or whatever.
It's more cash for us. I mean, if there are less people coming into the market, it's more cash for us, bringing our expertise on the table, right?
Storytelling, you sounding like an old man. They're on their TikTok. Listen to you.
I was just watching the trends. You know, that's
I mean, biggest age groups are still 20 to 29 and 30 to 39. And other interesting findings are, of course, related to Meteor. And I already found the forums. There are already some talks about this. Only 17 votes in Meteor frameworks for Meteor, and Jan already raised the question if it even does belong there. And I think that's just a bad categorizing here, because it also has a 306 votes in the undefined category. But here is the thing now, and that's what I already told all the time in this discussion. You might remember Make Meteor Great Again. We did that discussion in the forum, or we covered it in a prior episode already. More opinionated is actually good. I mean, every of these frameworks nowadays are somewhat opinionated, and if you can see, Meteor is somewhat on the meta, somewhat on the undefined categorized here. That's and somewhat on the back end. I don't know what it exactly is, but it shows that we need, for the future roadmap, we need much more opinionated, that people can see, yeah, Meteor is that real-time complex web app development platform, and it's not for, I don't know, server-side rendering. I know everybody will kill me now, but that's at least my take on that.
Yeah, your catalog pages, right?
Yeah.
Lynn has an interesting question here. You know, what category should Meteor be in? And I think for a very long time we've kind of, I think maybe like even from the beginning they were saying like, you know, Meteor is a category of one, or like in category of its own. So that's why it's always so difficult to categorize, you know, Meteor, and maybe that's also why kind of liked it, because my university was also, so I kind of used that similar approach, or could say slogan, you know, category of one, until they decided they got the new leadership and things started changing, kind of fit more with the other universities, but that's a different story. Yeah. So that's you know, one thing to kind of look at it, and kind of your you know, opinionation. There was Vulkan, but I think also like looking at it, even you know, with the Meteor packaging system and everything. Recently, I did an episode on routing. There's a lot of potential for, you know, if Meteor opinionates on a couple more things to allow to build, I would say, more interesting. Interesting approaches to things, but that also requires more opinion, and it will not be let's just say a nice discussion, because like we've seen with React and other, you know, going in one direction means that you kind of have to abandon some people other. But there's, you know, every time I look on, you know, on these things, there's always, I see like, oh, there's so much potential promise here in Meteor to kind of have that happen. Or we could potentially build some additional frameworks on top of Meteor to utilize this potential interaction or ease of interaction that Meteor you know, allows you to pull through packages and other things. So something to discuss in the future.
Also, some of the more trivial findings were that React is still the king of front ends, but the Vue ecosystem is keeping up. And I personally love that, because I'm personally, if I would have to decide, I personally would rather choose the Vue than the React, due to it's very close, or it's much closer to place and more of a templating engine. And I also found it interesting that Angular became a little bit more popular than the recent years. And this is quite interesting, because Angular was, to me, already some kind of, I wouldn't say that, but I was thinking like, yeah, this is already becoming an unused or less used front end, but it seems to be coming back. And very interesting, Bun has overtaken Dino in terms of the runtimes, and this is actually showing that there is some general interest in what Bun offers. I mean, we covered it in one of our former episodes on these runtimes, and I don't know what Dino did wrong that it was not adopted, because it's also built by Ryan Dahl, the creator of Node.js, and usually there is a lot of trust in that, because it's just from someone who has already proven to build something good. And I just don't know why Dino took off. Maybe it was the wrong time. Maybe there is an inherited flaw in the design in terms of how developer experience is transported. I don't know. I mean,
I think potentially Dino might have the, you know, how it's built potentially. I don't know. I haven't really tried my hunch, and kind of especially like looking at Angular, it might be related to, it might not be kind of easier for corporates to get into that. So that might be part of it, which also is kind of like, you know, now I think about it, about Angular kind of having a comeback. And I kind of find it interesting that you're surprised, because Germany, last time I checked like jobs, you know, in Germany and similar, you know, the corporate world, it was just Angular. So that's, I think that's where things might be coming from.
Yeah, and no one is doing Node.js in the back end here. I really don't understand that. It's crazy. They're all doing C#, Java, or that's already it mostly.
Can I jump in for a second here?
Yeah,
so I think, don't you think you guys are being a little premature in calling the death of Dino at this point? I still feel like this is a horse race, and the State of JS survey is a snapshot in time. So like right now, Bun is leading, but it doesn't mean that, you know, 6 months down the road, Dino's not going to have the edge. That's, you know, I think that this is still, you know, in play.
Oh,
no,
absolutely. But one thing that's interesting is that Dino had, I could say, a lot more time to kind of generate interest, and Bun has really jumped up fast. But at the same time, that can also, you know, we'll have to see in the next 2 years how that is going to develop, because Bun had a lot of interest generated, a lot of talk, so that also affects the survey significantly. And we'll see in the future if Bun can, say, maintain the momentum, and you know, interest from people, which is going to be crucial for these surveys.
Maybe one thing we should do is we should do an episode where we compare Bun and Dino and Node side by side, and try to kind of figure out, because I don't remember now. We did a couple episodes a while back where we brought these different platforms up and these runtimes up, and we were talking about the difference. I remember one of them like included a number of different services that you would normally, you know, have to use as dependencies from NPM, and they already like bring that right into the core, so you don't have to do an import. I don't remember which one of the runtimes did that, and I don't want to speculate on it right now, but I think, you know, to sit down and kind of like take a look, you know, what is it, like almost a year later, and do a side-by-side comparison. It'll be kind of interesting. I know Lori was interested. And by the way, I'm mentioning Lori because next week, Lori's going to be coming and talking about FerretDB. So I'm just giving a little shout out about that. I'll talk about it a little later on. But, and that's Lori from the CEO of Wecken. So he experiments a lot. And he, I believe, has also experimented with the different runtimes. So it'll be great to, you know, go back and take a look, you know, 8-9 months later, and, or maybe even a year later, and see where things are. I am very curious, because I just, you know, it is kind of surprising to me, but also at the same time, Dino was trying to carve out and make a claim as to what the what it thinks its marketplace is. And, you know, when somebody defines a space and you can come in and you can refine it, you can, you know, that second mover advantage can be better than sometimes the first mover, because you don't have to do all the same work, and some of that work's been done for you already. So you can discover better patterns afterwards. So I think that there's something still to be said about where that's going to go. But I think there's more to the state of JS report.
Yeah, let me wrap up a little bit because we also have some other content to cover. ChatGPT dominates code help. I mean, who would have guessed that? But that's what it is. Mostly Stack Overflow style Q&A or like general help or concepts or generative things, but usually not code generation. I mean, yeah, you can try that, but then have fun modifying. Single applications still dominate, followed by SSR, but I think this is still, it still shows me that there is still way much more talk about all these SSR, SSG, and Island, and whatever that is. There is much more talk than actually adoption, and then people are looking to temporal. That is the Jan, can you please enlighten me again? What was temporal?
Yes, temporal is the future replacement of date. It very much so that's what people are looking forward to most from the proposed or like upcoming feature. It's been cooking for quite a few years already, and it will replace whenever you do new date, you will be using temporal. It will have a lot of the features that usually now today people get packages because they don't want to deal with the date API.
Oh, finally dropping all these super bloating date JavaScript NPM packages that take up to 1 megabyte just for having proper date handling.
So you won't need something like Moment.js anymore?
Moment is already deprecated, but all the other in replacements for Moment are also eating up all my client-side bundle loading time. And if it would be a standard, then it's great because then it's a browser implementation, and then your bundle gets even smaller. And that's the same. What people also would like to see is things like static typing, standard library, and signals as most desired features. And I mean, if these things are natively in there, would also reduce app size again and also provide some increased developer experience. So wrapping up, state of JS, things are moving and things are still very interesting to see where all this is going. And hopefully we can help Meteor shape its way with the roadmap for upcoming state of JS surveys to be placed in a definite category. That would be awesome. Let's see how that works out.
Forward to it. All right. And now we're going straight into some Meteor specific news. We're getting the Meteor part of Meteor.
Yes. First of all, big shout out to Harry Adele. He has started now. Gonna join us in this YouTube space. He started a series called Your First Meteor Application for Meteor 3.1. So similar to inspired by Scott Dolinsky series and other things. Check it out. His from the forums. Check out his the interaction, everything, and let's grow this space. Guys, want to add something to this?
Yeah, I would love.
Go ahead. I was going to say that I'm just going to try it out. So
yeah, and I would love to see more people doing that kind of work, because this grows not only the network but the entire community. So this is really awesome to see some other member creating video content and spreading the word. And it's, as you can see, it is easy. Do it and then put it out into the world, and then people will notice it, and that's what's just happening there. So big thumbs up, Harry.
Yeah, and I'm going to encourage Harry to do your second Meteor application as a follow-up to this. I think like doing a little series like this, your first, your second, maybe your third, I think would be tremendously useful to the user environment, especially when we're talking about 3.1 applications. By
the way, just one last sentence. This is also something that happened during this time when Meteor was on its peak, and also in terms of popularity. There were so many people creating tutorials and content independently, so that it was not that coordinated like as we, for example, do right now, but everyone was providing something, was putting something out there, and that also created that whole momentum. So everyone just do something.
Speaking of doing something, Meteor 3.1.1 is coming along. It's in beta right now, so primarily focused on fixes. Hopefully we can get in the latest node version and npm in, not the npm 11 which just came out, but npm 10.10 latest version, which for me, if we can get that in, will fix one annoying things that sometimes npm just hangs forever and doesn't resolve. So a lot of other things getting fixed. I think there are a few fixes for Windows Universal. So definitely check it out. I believe also there is speed improvements as well. I can see there's 100 commits. When it's finished, it will be much more as well. So check it out. Give Git a try and let us know if you encounter any issues so we can fix them and have a release just before Christmas. Next, we have a couple of updates from the Meteor Gummy packages. Seba method hook, we have release candidate for version 4. Jan, I believe that's your thing. Then we have schema deny, patch release, and a new beta for schema index. I would really appreciate you guys if you could test that one out. I will have to kind of get back to it and finish things out because it's behind. But personally, I see that one as a stopgap as you move to your own more granular and better defined indexes now that the API for that is fully supported by Meteor. And I would like to have here on our mention Monte APM agent version 3 beta 10 has been released. So that's the version for Meteor 3. Please test this so we can get forward on that one as well. And also personally for me, I've put it into one of my production application, and my container started crashing because they started running out of memory. So I would like to, if you could guys test it out, probably not in as a destructive manner, to see if it was just something specific in my app or if indeed there is a problem with the agent. So yeah, please test it out. And also, especially if you're in Galaxy, you can, with the professional tier, you will get insights into what are the issues of your Meteor application. So you should probably have started using that already. And that brings me to my last point, which you probably have gotten emails about. There is right now a holiday savings plan special, 30% off to host your Meteor, MongoDB, everything stuff on Galaxy. So you can scan the QR code to get more information, to request quote and all that stuff. You will get then a let's say a quote in your what is it called, in your inbox, and that will be that will kind of tell you how much you've been using, how much they can offer you, and then if you say yes, then you will get that better rate on your next bill. And speaking of Galaxy, as we are moving off to our topic, don't forget we're watching us. You can get off $60 of access, as you can see there. So dispatches-60 is your coupon code, so you can try out Galaxy and have fun building over the Christmas. And with that, I apologize. I have to leave you because I am moving tomorrow to a new location, so I need to go sleep a bit earlier than usual so I can finish up in the morning. So, guys, what are you up to?
Well, Jan, I think Küster, I think there's something that you want to make sure that people do, right?
So I looked at this stream, and I also looked at the prior streams, and there was a pattern I noticed. So when the stream starts, there were only 1, 2, 3, 4 people, and once the stream is half an hour in, then we will get up to some more viewers. And I was thinking about how could that be, because when you subscribe to the stream, you get a notification that the stream starts, and then it popped back in, yeah, we still have half of our users not subscribing to the channel. So if you want to start early with us when the stream actually begins, then you should subscribe to the channel. Then you get the notification that the stream starts in 30 minutes, and then you will be definitely on point when the stream actually starts. And then you will also get the news right on spot. And of course, you're supporting us with what you're doing when you're subscribing, because then we are close to 350. That's our next challenge, our next milestone.
We're hoping to get to that before the end of the month, the end of the year, right? So it'd be good to close out the year with at least 350 subscribers. We really want to get to 500, but I think that's asking Santa Claus for way too much. So it's, maybe Santa Claus can't do it, but you can. You can hit that button. I
just read in the chat that Kelly wrote he subscribed but never get notifications. So now I have to make another announcement. When you subscribe, you have to mark the bell, this notification bell, to all. So you have to click on the bell, and then you have to click on all, and then you get notifications for any video we're uploading. May it be a live stream, may it be a short, may it be a video, then you will get always notified.
So there is a setting to this.
Yeah.
All right.
There's another channel. Go ahead.
No, go on, please.
Now, another channel that I watch for history buffs, which is for the Cold War, says, "Don't forget to press the bell button."
Press the bell button. Oh my goodness.
So with that, guys, I'll leave space because I believe you will be taking some guests. Have a good day, everybody. Good weekend.
Yep.
And I will see you on my streams and elsewhere probably before the year is out. If not, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Same to you.
You too.
All right. And all right, very good. And as Storyteller heads off into witness protection, because he's being transported someplace else to where we don't know, and that's for his own protection and safety. It's really dangerous out there today. If you are in the chat right now with us, we are sharing the link to the studio so you can join in. And we're going to be talking about how to reduce on-call stress when you're on vacation during this holiday. And my eyes are everywhere right now but on the camera, and I don't know why I'm doing that. I'm going back like a year now on how I used to use this camera. I don't know. So we were talking about this, actually, Küster. I think like this was a topic that you came up with and you were thinking about. So I think during this time, like most of us as professionals are, if you have a site that's out and you're doing any kinds of holiday transactions, it could be internally, it could be you're part of a business to business system, or you're business to consumer directly. This is a time when I think a lot of our apps get hammered, and we really need to be aware of what's going on. And some of us are very lucky to have site reliability engineers, right? A very, very specific role that they're just, taking care of monitoring that. Or we've got our full, level 1 through level 4 support system set up, and that's all taken care of. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But most of us who are business owners and small business owners like myself, and Jan, you've got a small business that you also run too with your Meteor app. We are it. And we have to still spend time with our families and try to enjoy the holidays. So, how do we take care of this? We are on call, most business people, even when I worked at other companies, whether it was the president or the CEO or whatever, they were always very interested in what was happening with their applications. So if you are a business owner, in a sense, you're always on call. This notion of on call has a very specific definition, I think, right? When we talk about roles in the company, but at the same time, being on call really means being sort of aware of what's going on and responding in some way to what's happening with your application. So you have some thoughts on this?
I can add to that on call in Germany is specifically regulated in terms of job situations. So when you're on call, that is not something that you just informally make up with your boss or makes up with you, but this is usually also part of the contract. It doesn't need to be necessarily be defined like from where to when. That's optimally, but at least it must be part of the contract that there is on-call availability. And I mean, as a developer, that might not be 100% part of your job unless you're also mixing up into the consultant or in the project lead or into DevOps or anything that goes into operations. Then on-call already plays a much higher role. And I think personally, the more you can automate things away, the less this on-call status is a problem, because the more things are relying on you. And as a developer, so here's the thing, I was actually initiating this topic because I know there are some tools out there, but I still don't know like who is using what's the Meteor community using, what's preferred. Of course, there is Galaxy that has already features into that, but you can never cover everything. So this is why I thought let's structure it a little bit and see what's out there that can reduce the stress, so you can enjoy your vacation.
Yeah, so I think there are people that have they've got different strategies, right? Some are, listen, I mean, my application is really small. I know it very intimately. If something happens, I'll just go to the logs. I'll look over the logs and I'll take care of it. But the thing is, it depends on what you're carrying with you, right? If you're on vacation at the beach and you have a very spotty internet connection, it's maybe not the best place to sit down and do some, on-site development. You might be in, a place in the world where they just do not have like a good connection. There are, for instance, resorts where they basically, you are untethered. The whole point is to get away. And so, you might have a cell signal at best, but maybe not so much else. So we have people in the chat right now. I'm looking very quickly, and I noticed they're talking about the outside weather. Apparently there's some snowing in Pennsylvania. Min is asking, Storyteller, has he gone outside in Japan? But Storyteller's gone right now, so I don't think he's responding back there. But I want to point out again, if anybody in the chat right now who is watching this on YouTube and is participating in the chat wants to join us in the studio here, we'd be happy to have you and share your thoughts, your insights, and your experience. So, in terms of what I do for my system, I do have some degree of automation. I do my deployments in Docker containers, so that makes it a little easier. I don't worry about necessarily, if a bug shows up, I'll kill the container and I'll restart a new one. And I don't get a huge amount of traffic, so I don't worry so much about the user experience, because I don't have typically lots and lots of users connected at one time. I have basically a load balancer with a bunch of Docker containers that are attached to a MongoDB cluster, and it's a very, very simple setup. And I could orchestrate and make that a little more sophisticated by using like some auto scaling features, like perhaps like AWS Elastic Beanstalk, to take care of doing this for me. And
what would it do?
What
would it do? What would Elastic Beanstalk actually do in terms of?
I haven't used it very much, right? So I haven't really played with it. My understanding is like it's good for auto scaling, where if all of a sudden you're getting a lot more traffic, you could spin up. It would automatically spin up additional instances for you, so that you don't get your CPU saturated. So you could set. Oh, okay. And I see now in the chat that Jan is still there somehow, chatting with Min. So tools like that allow you to not have to worry about like when you're getting spikes, and then there could be procedures in your script setup so that you could auto scale up and then you can scale back down without having to have manual intervention. It doesn't necessarily take care of the issues with monitoring your logs for errors or any kind of out of bound problems that people might have. So that's a different set of problems. I think for things like and then of course there are different cloud providers that provide these kinds of services. I'm pretty sure that Google Cloud offers its own as well as Azure and Oracle Cloud and all those other clouds. I wish well, I don't know, but there are other options that people have. They can use VPSs where they kind of control the entire experience themselves. I haven't.
That's what I have to do.
Yeah, that's what you do. You use VPS?
No, I have to do it for at least at work, because at work we have an infrastructure we have to use in order to because we're processing sensitive data, and we're not allowed to use any third-party vendors. I mean, we could do it, but it's a high bureaucratic effort and has to be renewed much often. So we decided to use the VPS, or in that case, it's virtual machines that the infrastructure on our data center offers, and there you have to do everything manually. And I mean, if I compare, for example, to Galaxy, where I can simply add new containers to my application or increase the containers for me. I personally, at my work, for example, I have to do a different strategy because I have to do it manually. So that's a different point. And for me personally, is currently the monitoring, for example, more crucial than, for example, the scaling. Because with the monitoring, or let's say the scaling is in my applications or in my use cases, it's more predictable because we don't have. I'm not doing a B2C product. That's what I'm doing on my private side business, but that's not. We are not in that phase right now. But at work, I rather have to look that the applications don't crash or simply don't produce some weird errors. Because if I know that if there is an error, the user will be affected and we can't lose any of our users there. Of course, business owners can't do that as well, but for us it's a little bit different, because once this error occurs, then we fast lose some users. So I need some monitoring things, and there are some famous options here. For example, we know that Galaxy has APM inside, with Monty APM being integrated, and I mean, I could show something here.
For those of you who don't know, APM means Application Performance Monitor. So you'll see that acronym used a lot, but sometimes you don't know what it is. That's what it means, Application Performance Management. Yeah.
And I mean, it's basically showing you CPU, GPU, CPU connections, memory consumption, and things like this. And this helps you to see any spikes, but the most important part is to connect that to specific Meteor methods, to specific publications and things. But there's one thing that I'm missing in classic APM, and that is I have also to have notifications on things beyond a certain threshold, that when things reach certain thresholds, I want to get notified if certain errors occur. Not every error, but specific errors. When they occur, I want to get notified, because that's what's crucial on vacation. So I can lean back and know, okay, I will, if there is something critical, I will get notified. If my application is crashing, I will get definitely notified on Galaxy. That's already inside there, so that's not the thing. But for example, what I do outside of Galaxy on my private, on my VPS-based machines, for example, I was using services like Uptime Robot to ping my application constantly to see if there is any outage or if there's any delay. So when there's a high demand, so that is one part. But if you want to get deep insights, you need something else, and this is where I'm currently looking at. For example, what could I use to have this more in-app specific monitoring with notifications, and things get easily expensive. So I don't know what people in the chat have to say, what they're doing, and what is their strategy to that.
Yeah.
Currently the chat is still about the weather.
Do you have a layered strategy where you have, like, you go from like your simplest type of monitoring and notification to more in-depth? Like, for instance, do you use a tool like a status page, like status.io? There are these third-party tools that do some basic monitoring of your website for uptime, right? And there's like the famous uptime pages, right? So do you employ something like this, or you have like a different strategy?
I have an uptime page, but for example, I still have nothing in terms of notification.
Yeah.
So
for notifications, do you? But you do get notifications, or you don't, or you set those up separately?
No, I get only notifications for
thresholds
for downtime, but
only for downtime.
I want to I only get notifications for downtime, but I want to have much more. I mean, there is some notification thing, but let me.
I've set notifications because, again, like, I don't get hammered because basically my application is basically a client portal, right? So clients get to see what where they are with their projects and where we are with their projects, and that we use it for billing communication. So 9 times out of 10, we can deal with things with either an email or a support call if there is any problems whatsoever. So we don't really invest a lot in a tremendous amount of monitoring, but we do have a couple of thresholds that we have set. So we have a threshold on an observation where if we get to, I think it's 70% utilization on the disks for the database, then a notification goes back to myself, and I got a guy that sometimes part-time works with me in operations, and then at that point we'll either take a look and we'll see what the velocity of writes are to the database and figure out whether or not we need to do something about it, or we'll spin up like another instance, or we'll do some queries and basically compact the database or offload some of the older data. So
and this is a very process specific or like workflow specific thing. And this is where I think is the benefit for these kind of notifications, because then I know on my vacation I can lean back as long as no notifications is coming in. Or that would be my dream setup. There's no notification coming in, there is no trouble. And for example, on Galaxy, you can get, so I was checking again on what you can add your notification settings. So when you're on Galaxy, on the settings, there's this notification page. And you can get notifications for deployment starting, settings changed, successfully deployed, deploy failed, deploy aborted, app restored. This is great because this is this part of what you need these notifications for when you're in your deployment process. But when I'm on vacation, I usually not deploying something unless I'm working with other people and they're deploying something. So for that, this is a great thing in a team effort. And then there's deployment. this is a great thing. But what I personally rather need, for example, is notifications for very specific events. And then, I mean, there are solutions like Datadog, and I just personally can't afford Datadog.
I think they have a free tier, but yeah, but yeah, they are expensive.
And I mean, there are some. We gathered some resources, right? We gathered some tools like New Relic, Prometheus, and Nagios, or things like this. So we have to try them out. But maybe there are people having some experience with them here.
Yeah.
But as far as I can see, so Kelly is posting something about post-hoc. So Kelly, enlighten us, please. What is post-hoc? Or let me check out.
Kelly,
what it is.
Why don't you just come on the channel? We chat about this, man. Come on.
What?
I said Kelly should come on the channel and chat directly with us.
Oh, you mean into the studio?
Into the studio, yeah. I'm sorry, not the channel. Into the studio, yeah.
So,
will you? Come on. I'll make it worth your time. I'm dropping the link back into the chat.
Okay.
Oh, he has a kid's home. Okay, all right, no problem.
No problem. I know how that is. This is always messy when the kids are in the background.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's look that up. Let's see what that's about. Hang on a second. Post-hog. I'll share my screen in a second. So post-hog. All right. Sharing screen. Let's do that. Okay. Guys, we've been putting slides up for a while now, and we think that's actually helpful to everybody. Storyteller had the slides, and when he left, they went. So I'm sorry that we aren't able to show you the stuff that we had prepared ahead of time, but I'll try to do it live here. We have, so this is post-hog here, and let's just decline that. And there they have, all right, let's see what their pricing page looks like. So post-hog cloud, designed to go with 10 products, takes your product market fit. Generous view tier means that 90% of the companies use post-hog for free. Oh, okay. Generous multi-tier community support, right? And what do they give you? Free on all plans. You get analytics, 1 million events, session replays, 5,000 recordings, feature flags, 1 million requests. You can experiment that's build with feature flags. I'm not sure what that means. And you can do surveys with up to 250 responses. And they offer a data warehouse with 1 million rows. I mean, this could probably work for some smaller setups. And then after the free tier, their pricing is, it looks pretty good. This could work, right? A totally free plan over here, and then they have the ridiculously cheap plan, they say, over here, right? And then Starship Enterprise, right, from $2,000 a month. Yeah, so that is, and then they have add-ons that you can add team support, person profiles, and so on. So this is a really interesting app. I've never heard about it before. If you guys know of any others, and it's also self-hostable. Oh. So when it's Kelly, when it's self-hostable, are you able to just you don't have to pay for anything? Is that what it is? And he says the session replay is really amazing. All right, good to know. Good to know. Something perhaps to try. Now, do you have to go through hoops to use something like this in Germany, Jan?
When it's self-hosted, I'm really good with that. So when it's open source and self-hosted, I'm really good with that, because then I can, so we can add this definitely to our list here, to the open source services, because that's what I'm currently mostly interested in.
I'm going to share the Datadog pricing page, right?
Oh yeah, do it, please.
So Datadog is here. It starts at 0, collect features. But there's some severe limitations, and I guess if you're running into anything where you need, you might be looking at issues, or the issues don't really become apparent because you don't get a proper notification until after day, like a 1-day metric retention is really, really hard, right? I mean, it is nice that you get up to 5 hosts that you can run the service on and get those free things, but that does make it a little more complicated. And then of course, now we have the per host per month, which is not too bad, but still, these things tend to increase in price pretty quickly once you start adding your infrastructure. Once you've bought in, it's very hard to buy yourself back out, right? Because it means whatever you've got set up, you've got to replace. Like if you have 10 servers that you have set up, or if you're auto scaling, right? And all of a sudden now you start adding servers, now all of a sudden, like if you have this as part of your setup for whatever your server is, that you're going to make sure that you have an agent or you have monitoring being run by Datadog, then all of a sudden, if you have auto scaling going in and you have an e-commerce site, and now you have like 10 additional servers that go up, or 20 because of the Black Friday, deal, you might end up, getting some additional costs that you did not necessarily expect. So, I mean, you really kind of have to sit down and model it out yourself ahead of time to have a clear understanding of what your costs are going to be, so that you don't end up getting a bill that you really didn't expect at the outset. That's the only problem with like auto scaling, right? It's like if you're not careful, you could create some big bills for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, if you can afford that, that's cool. But if you're a small business, then this can get you into trouble. And I mean, there were nice postings in the back. So I could not go on vacation, for example, with that, knowing that
Right.
I would get crazy emails like that. But coming back here, just a little bit, coming back to Galaxy. So there is actually APM and logs in Galaxy included. I just say that would be awesome if I have on my Galaxy having some ways to say, okay, on that threshold, when that threshold is exceeded, then
are you able to show the Galaxy monitoring tools and so on? Are you willing to do that from your Galaxy account?
I can only show you. Yeah. I can show you something. So for those who don't know how it looks like, I can show you that.
Yeah,
just give me
right.
Give me a second.
Sure, absolutely.
So, yeah. So, is it on screen?
I'm getting it on screen for you right now. Okay.
Okay. So, basically, I have some kind of a performance overview, and I'm using that Place UI Meteor app now because this is not a crucial application I have running. So this is okay. Basically,
is it possible to increase the font size? Can you do like the the Control Plus or whatever it is? Yeah, that's good. I think that's good. That's good. I don't think you need to go further than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it good, guys?
Okay.
So let me check the chat and see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, when you're running your app on Galaxy, then you will always have this nice overview of your app, and there's also this performance monitor, and then you have it's a little bit kind of an interactive, so you can even see some details, and depending on the GPU you're using, you can see the load. And mine is totally in idle, so because there is no one looking at this right now, because this is my Place UI Meteor app. This is nothing where people are coming from, but this is something I can show you right now. Here, still, it would be awesome to have something like, okay, my virtual GPU is now going into a little higher load, so maybe we can, you know what, let me share that and let's see how that looks like when everybody is opening that website now. So let's see if we can get something out of this. So I mean, it takes a while because it's filtered by like every 5 minutes or something, and By the way, we also did an app monitor in the past here in the stream. But what I really need is, or that's what I need on my vacation for my other apps, is that if, you can see there is something happening now. Wow, we have some connections here. Yeah. What I need is, I need some kind of a notification. Okay, I have like this super 5 minutes long 100% CPU, and this is getting out of hand. I need a notification because this might be something I need to look at. The same goes for my The same goes for when I look at the logs. So currently I have no logs produced here because this is a client-side app. There is nothing on the logs right now. And but what's really important here is that if I have some errors, I would like to define which kind of errors, which type of errors, or what is part of the error, and then I want to get a notification about that specific error via email, because that's what I use on vacation. I have my phone with me and maybe the laptop, but that's it. And then I want to know, is this something crucial to work on or not? I mean, preferably I wouldn't even take my laptop with me on vacation. But this is still something I'm still missing here. But now you can see, it's spiking. We get 13 connections already. That's crazy. Lots of people looking at this website. Yay. By the way, there's also databases you can also create. And there's also some kind of minimal monitoring, I think, for the database once you create it. I just don't know where my database is going. Let me check on that later on. So, but basically, so there are these two things. There's APM and there's notifications. And I need, usually personally, to have a stress-free vacation, I need definitely a combination of both. So that I can get this, that I can define, this is a critical event, I want to get notified. The rest is not considered critical, or like this category of events is critical and these categories are not critical, or whatever kind of lists or filters you want to do to have it your most stress-free time. And I don't know if you have experience with tools like, for example, Kubernetes or things like this, when you have a more complex setup of multiple servers interacting with each other, if that might be of help in terms of when there's an outage of one service and other servers rely on that service, that you can auto start it again or auto start multiple services again or whatever working there. So do you have experience with that?
Yeah, we've done a little work with some workflow tools and people that have used like Kubernetes pods to do some setups. I've done one project with that in the past, so I don't have a lot of experience with it. But it's a situation where we basically we had a bunch of web servers and I'm trying to remember how the Kubernetes works, but I think they're a unit. Excuse me. They're a unit of orchestration is called a pod. You sort of have a number of these different services that are grouped together, and they are basically managed together. And there is an observer that it's a little service that keeps watch on the health and the status of it, and then when something goes wrong, you can have it respond however you want, right? You can have it just automatically by the way, there is a web service that is hanging, or it's not responding in time, or it's not meeting some criteria. I will spin that down and spin something else up in the meantime, or I'll kill it. And you can get very granular with it. So I think that there are a lot of tools. Many of them require some real thinking about your workflow. We've used some workflow tools in the past that basically look along the entire workflow chain and monitor the health on each end of that, each part of that workflow. and then we'll do something. I'm trying to remember it begins with a T in it. It's not coming to me right now, but there is a tool that we've used. It's basically like a phone service. So it gives you like a SMS number. And when we have a service that generates an alert, it then sends that. And by the way, we use things like filtering logs, right? Because that's basically what you're saying with the log data. It's like not everything is meaningful or actionable. Sometimes it's like, oh yeah, there's some kind of like format error. Well, 9 times out of 10, it's not critical, and we're not necessarily going to act on that right away, right? But if it's where a write to the database fails, right, and it's transactional or something like that, we care about that, because that might be it might be significant for a user in terms of their user data, or it might be financial data, or it might be something else. And or if we're seeing security hits. So the other thing is, we've been talking about the happy circumstance where you're getting lots of load because customers are interacting with your application, right? And they're looking to do something productive. But we also have the situation where you end up getting distributed denial of service attacks, right? People are coming to your site, maybe they're probing, maybe they're trying to hack into the login, and you want to get some kinds of alerts on that. And so it used to be, I used to have a pager a long time ago, and I get pager notifications. Like when the pager went off, it's like, oh, something's going on, go take a look, right? But we set up for a customer about 3 years ago. They wanted to have their notifications go to Twitter, and so they had a Twitter account. And whenever there was a notification, we would write to the Twitter API a message out. Now, I don't know what's going on. They're not a customer anymore, and that's many years now. But I don't know what happened with X. I know X like closed a lot of your accounts, and if you want to have like automated writes, they limited that severely. So I don't know if their application's still using it. But we would filter. Basically, it was like a support team tool. So the idea was like everybody has their phone on them, and almost all of the engineers that were on that team were using Twitter, right? So if they were getting a notification to that Twitter account, and they had it on their list of they were subscribed to it, they would get the notification whenever it came out. And that kind of that was a really novel way of doing things, and not hard. And at the time when Twitter was totally free in a lot of ways, it made it very easy for that team to get the proper alerts that they needed. So I think we did the initial implementation, and then later on they went in and they broke it down into additional sub accounts where specific types of notifications hit specific teams. So you just subscribe to that account that does it for you. But I've gotten notifications by email most of the time. You could do it by SMS. Yeah. I'm trying to remember, like I said,
but regarding that, there's also the feature in Galaxy that you can get notification on Slack. So you just need to set it up for your Slack workspace. So that's a great thing when you work in a team. But then there is this general thing when you work in a team and somebody is on vacation. Usually you don't. Depending on the task, you may anyway don't have to be on call, because then maybe you have a substitute, or like somebody is your principal and helping you out in that during that time. And what I have now observed is, I don't know what you think about it, is that the problem with these kind of messengers is they are not forever. For example, Slack, we manage the Meteor, Kelly manages, but I just say there is this Meteor community Slack, and it's managed by Kelly, I think. But there are also a lot of people now using Discord. I personally don't use Discord, but I'm there, but I don't personally use it. But for example, at my workplace, we use a self-hosted MetaMost instance, for example. So this is always this problem. So you have to support all these tools when you want to get notification over these chats and all that stuff, which is why I think email is still the most universal way to go, because email is just the easiest way to set up.
Yeah.
There's one tool we haven't covered yet, by the way, and that is Monty APM, because it is partially put into Galaxy, but you can also self-host it still. By the way, you can either use it, Monty APM, as a service, but you could also self-host it.
I did not know there was a self-hosting option for Monty APM. Honestly,
it's
I thought
hard to do, but I think you can do it, because there is the Monty APM client is open, and I think you can, to some degree, host the backend infrastructure from the prior company. What was their name? Who created that with Arunoda?
Oh gosh.
Yeah, they created the APM, and I think this has some degree of self-hosting.
Kadira.
This is also another option, but it is also part of Galaxy already.
Yeah, it was Kadira, right? You're talking about
Kadira, yes.
Yes.
Formerly Kadira. Yeah. So now we have some tools here, and I mean, what we would like to see in the future is, how should I say that? If somebody has experienced something on your vacation, I would love to get some. That would be an awesome user story. Like, okay, we had this problem, and this is how we solved it. This is how we solved our on-call stress situation with these kinds of tools, for example. I mean, there is automation easily done when you're on that deployment side. I think Galaxy is really a friend, because you can use push to deploy. That makes it super easy to just push your code and then it's deploying. This is already a perfect use case when I'm on vacation and I really have to quick fix something and I just want it to get live. Then I would use that feature. Again, my most stressful situation is that whole filtered logs or filtered events, putting into a notification, arriving to me, to Node, because I want to get notified about things before my users do. So I don't want my users to wait until my users write me an email about something's not working. Because when somebody is writing an email to me, something's not working, then this is already the 10th or 20th user that experienced that. The others are just dropping. They're just leaving. Like, no.
Yeah.
That's it.
I know for you that when you're on vacation, you want to have as little equipment with you as possible. You have the kids. Yes. They're in your hands, right? So it's and your preference is, you want to have as small a profile as possible, use your phone for it.
Yeah.
I tend to bring my laptop and for a very specific reason. I have a Chromebook that I bought recently. I should have probably just brought it downstairs and shown it. And the thing is, I like the Chromebook because they're not tremendously expensive. They've actually gotten very much better now over the years. But the thing is my eyes aren't as great as they used to be, and I need a bigger screen. Like the screen on a phone is just too small. It's just really tiny. And the type and everything gets really, really small. And so to be able to see a graph properly, understand what's going on, is a little more complicated for me. So for me, what I do is I bring a small, 14-inch screen laptop, and if it gets, and I think I was telling you how I have it configured, because your concern is if you bring a laptop, it has access to a lot of confidential, privileged information. And that becomes its own problem. What I do is I bring a laptop and I bring it's smaller than this phone. It's half the size of this. It's a little router that I use to make my own subnet in the hotel or wherever I go that has that I'm using a public internet or public connection, and I hook that up to the laptop, and that's how I connect. And so, when I bring the the Chromebook I have is a bare bones thing. I have a number of scripts on GitHub that I use. I pull down, and that provisions the laptop. And then when I'm done with whatever project I'm working on, I tear it back down to the manufacturing settings. So because the Chromebooks have a setting where you could just, reset to factory settings. And I do that, and it's brilliant. I mean, it works out really nicely for me. It does take a little time to do that initial setup, but once that's done, I can do my work for a bit, and then I don't have to worry again. Most of my other work then goes right back up and syncs to GitHub. And any data that I have that is not going to GitHub, I'll just put on a SD card or on a pen drive, and I'll take that off. And so that's how I deal with my situation. I don't think that that's necessarily would work for you. But
no, because I have to set up the dev environment and everything, and for me the most crucial situation is that I have deployment keys with me then, and then so I just don't want to compromise these keys because I'm really good that I don't. I mean, there is a key rotation I'm applying, but I'm happy when I only have the half-year key rotation and not the I lost a USB stick. We have to do a key rotation. That's just what I don't want to do. And optimally, it would be just my phone. But again, this is failing when I have to change something in the code. I can't do it with a phone. I mean, I've never seen someone being able to code with a mobile phone. This is just I mean, maybe it's possible, but I really doubt that you can go beyond. I mean, come on, we even didn't make it to really set up Meteor and the likes on a Raspberry Pi 2 or 3 weeks ago. So how would I do it on my mobile phone? But again, that would be my dream setup. Just have my mobile phone there, and then just get notified when things are really crazy, and then have some like a cloud-based IDE I can just log in from somewhere and then work on it. But that's still more of a imagination than something that could really happen. Again, I don't want to close that topic in the way that everything is said and done. I think this was more like an opener for future episodes on more focused things. For example, I will definitely look into that post hoc what Kelly offered and see how it compares to other things like Prometheus and the likes, to see what would be for myself a very viable option to self-host and interconnect with Meteor. Because there's also another part it's not only about the pricing and the features and but also how well it actually integrates with the Meteor environment. This is also an important part, in my opinion. Kelly is again commenting, you could SSH over your home VPN and use NeoVim to edit remotely. That would be a thing. Actually, I already did that some time ago. That I had to directly SSH into a server, then because on the VPS that's actually easy, and then edit source code. But the problem was, because I'm running on containers, that was not persistent. So I had to make sure that's actually safe beyond that. And but it's possible right now. By the way, I don't use NeoVim, but I know Kelly is really into that. I still use the built-in Nano. I know everybody hates Nano, but I still don't know why everybody hates Nano. But I've
never been able to use Nano well. I always go to VI, right? So it's
Yeah, Nano has no switch mode. It has no switch mode. It's just all in one mode. It has more shortcut. It doesn't have more shortcut, but it's more aligned to use shortcuts for everything and don't switch any modes. Just it's just less. Okay. I don't know, Alan. What do you think? Is there anything we have to add here, or do you think we
Yeah, we have one last thing. We have one last thing, and I just need to get the screen ready. So just give me a second here, and let me find the window. So what I'm sharing now are our 5, and I should have like set this up properly before I ran into this. So for those of you who are thinking about, like, well, you've been watching some of these episodes and you've been very happy with them so far, but you're not really familiar with what we've done in the past. What should I watch if I were really interested in learning more about the channel and the content that we've covered and making sure that you catch up? You've got some time between now and the holidays. Maybe you got some downtime and you want to watch some of our former episodes. Here are some of them that I think would make a lot of sense. Our most popular episodes in terms of how engaged people are with them, and how useful they found them. We found to be the Understanding the MeteorJS Roadmap, which is episode 63, not too long ago. The last week's episode, believe it or not, is also one of our most well-received and well-regarded episodes, both in watch time and in terms of the number of people watching it. What's the right way to measure developer productivity? You just mentioned before the episode that we did on the Raspberry Pi with Lori, who is the CEO of Wecken, and that one seems to have been well received also. And then, of course, we had an episode on supporting multiple languages app and what you need to know about signals. Actually, I think this is not the correct list, but it's a good list. Give it a try. Go from there. I think my check on this was only for the last 28 days. So that gives a slightly different view. If you guys want to wait for a second, I might be able to get a different list for you to take a look at. And that would be the episodes. Where is this thing? Hang on a second. But what do you think about those episodes? Have you, Jan? You've been part of this whole thing, right?
I personally loved the measure productivity that was last week's episode, because this is still a topic that I personally care about a lot, because this is the classic management versus developers theme, and I like that a lot, to show how much BS is in the industry about this productivity and trying to quantify things that are qualitative in nature, and it's just impossible. But that's an episode I personally really liked, and there was one episode that is not on your list, by the way, and that was the open source episode. And
yeah, let me show you. This is the whoa, hang on, I'm sharing the wrong screen. Sorry, guys. I apologize. Let me get what I need to get, and then here we go. 1 second. So let me share that. Okay. And where are we here? Oh, it's not a window. It's a window. Okay. Here we go. So these are the top 5 episodes for the year in terms of total watch time. And that second item here is the one that you're talking about.
Yes, are we losing open source software?
Yeah. By the way, this third one, Turing Wecken, this is sort of like an all-time favorite, right? Because this is one of our earliest episodes that go all the way back into last fall, and it still gets traffic, and people are still watching it. So that's pretty interesting. And then last year we ended the year with out with the old. People seem to find that one very interesting. And then, of course, where does Meteor go next in 2024 was a hot topic. We have, in a sense, a follow-up to that in one of the episodes that we just did in terms of, the Meteor 3.1 roadmap. And I expect over the next several months that will probably overtake the position of where does Meteor go in 2024. So anyway, yeah, that is what I have to share.
Yeah, something to watch during the vacation. And if you have anything that you want to let us know, please put it in the comments. Especially if there is any topics where we should cover in the future, anything that you think is not covered yet, or anything that you like us to not cover anymore because it's too much and it comes to, I don't know, just let us know. I mean, that might also happen, you know. And apart from that, I think it's time to finally let everyone leave into the holidays. Into the weekend and hopefully holidays. I hope your holidays already started. Mine did, so I'm really relaxed.
On this is we'll be back next week, and then for the new year we'll be taking a break. And we'll be coming back on the 10th of January. Next week we are going to have Lori from Weekend. Who will be joining us to talk about his experience implementing or trying to implement FerretDB as a drop-in replacement for MongoDB for Meteor applications. And the thing to know about FerretDB is the underlying engine behind it is Postgres. So that's kind of interesting. So it's, you're supposed to get the full reactivity that you get with MongoDB, with FerretDB. The FerretDB team has been working with the MeteorJS, the Meteor software team. So we're expecting to see some really interesting things. I have some questions with regard to oplog change streams and so on that I'll need to understand whether or not those are in place. And maybe we'll be able to reach out to the FerretDB guys and see if we can get them to join us for a future episode. So that's what we have for next week. The week after, we're gone. The week after that, the 10th, when we come back, we're going to be on a new video platform. It's going to offer a higher resolution video, so you'll be able to see the text better when we display it. And it'll allow us to do a number of different things. We can stream to multiple channels simultaneously. So pretty excited about that. So we'll not only be streaming here, but if you're a New York member, you can also go to the Meteor New York channel, and you'll be getting the streams there going forward in the future. So we're very excited about this new development. We're going to see how it plays out. We're going to be playing with it for a bit. If some of you came over the weekend and saw a bunch of test streams going on and started, that's me playing with that new software. So we'll be doing more of that, and you might actually end up in the channel seeing some of these tests show up. You might see us in there playing around with it. It's all good. It's all good. Guys, thank you so much, and have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. All right?
See you next week.